Atmayeva kilang drishyam pravilapya diya sudhi bhavayedekam atmanang nirmala kashavat sada. Atmanyeva, the Atman alone, akilang, entire, drishyam, world of objects, pravilapya, merging, diya, by his intelligence, sudhihi, wise man, bhavayet, should think, ekang, one, atmanang, the self, nirmala kashavat, like the stainless pure sky, sada, constantly. The wise one should intelligently merge the entire objective world in Ātman alone, and constantly think of Ātman as the stainless sky.
Namaste. It's so funny. Every time we get to the part where it talks about how to do the meditation, the number of views drops off a cliff. These last few videos about how to do the meditation, the tmabodhah meditation, have gotten like half the views of the previous ones that are all about the theory. Now, the theory is important. Yeah, you have to know what you're doing. You have to have a map, you know. But these verses talk about the actual process, how to realize tmabodhah. Where is everybody? It's so crazy. And it always happens with every single series I've ever done. And that's why you will not find very many complete series on this channel. Because we get to a certain point and it starts talking about the practical methods and people just don't watch it. I don't know, it's a weird psychological thing. It's okay to talk about theory, but when you start talking about how to implement the theory, I think I hear my mother calling me. Or something is distracting people. They're afraid of it. They don't want to actually sit down and do the meditation. This is why Neo-Advaita is so popular now. Nobody wants to actually attain the prerequisites. Nobody wants to actually develop their love and compassion, their purity, desirelessness, and so on. The sadhana chaturashtaya. It's really kind of pathetic. They think they can jump up. But like we said in a video a long time ago called Jump Up, Fall Down. If you try to attain a higher level or higher status of self-realization without the proper prerequisites, you will fall down. You will not be able to stay on that platform. Maybe by sheer force of will, you can attain it for a little bit, but you won't be able to maintain for a long time. That's not what this is about. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Self-realization takes decades. In fact, it takes your whole life, because that's what life is actually about in this universe. Not how much stuff you can accumulate, how much money, fame, power, beauty, knowledge, renunciation. No. How many titles and designations and positions in various organizations you can get? No, it's not about that at all. That is all distraction. The real thing is, how much can you realize this tmabodhah? How deep can you get into it? Or how high? Same difference. So the wise one should intelligently merge the entire objective world in Ātman alone, because that's the way it really is. Seeing the objective world as a separate entity is Maya. That's the illusion. That's what we don't want to see, because that's not the truth. The truth is, the whole so-called objective world is actually a subjective world within the self. That is the vision. When you attain the highest level of self-realization, ajatavada, turiya consciousness, that is how you see. You see that the whole world, the external world, is actually internal, and it is an illusion. It doesn't really exist. It's Maya. And so then the next part is constantly think of Ātman as the stainless sky. Well, the word actually is not sky. It's akasha, nirmal akasha, that the stainless, pure, uncorruptible sky. Well, actually space, akasha means space. And space is one uninterruptible, unbounded, unconditioned thing. It doesn't cling to anything. It never becomes the object of anything. That's why you can't see it. But you know it's there because it gives room for objects to exist. Where would the objects be if there was no space? It's an absurd question. They wouldn't be anywhere because space is the there that they are in. Space gives room. It also gives location. And it also gives relations of one location to another. Like this place is north of that place, or south, whatever. It gives the relations of spatial distances, dimensions, relationships, and so on. And it also serves as a metaphor for time. Time is like space. It's a fourth dimension, linear time anyway. So space is never affected by anything. You can blow up the biggest atomic bomb or the biggest quasar or whatever can explode, and space is just like, oh what? It doesn't get affected by anything, and it doesn't cling to anything. You can't say, my space. Well, people say that, but it's meaningless. What it simply means is, I don't want anything interfering in the immediate area of my body. But actual space cannot belong to anyone or anything. Because, as we made the example so many times, if you have a cup, here's a cup, the space inside the cup and the space outside the cup are identical. There's no way to tell any difference. And when the cup is destroyed or goes away or whatever, the space remains. There is no really such thing as the space inside the cup. There's only the space, and the cup happens to be there, that's all. So just like space, Ātman is all-pervading, unaffected by any transformations or changes, unbounded by any limitations, indestructible and non-clinging, never becomes an object. So Ātman is the source, actually, and the context, consciousness that envelops and gives room for all these other phenomena. Try to understand. So how do we merge the objective world in Ātman? By intelligence. By knowing that that's the truth. How do we know? From the Veda scriptures, the Upanishads especially. we know that there is no actually objective world. There is only a subjective world within Brahman, known by Brahman alone, the self. And since the self is our self and their self and the self of the silly kitty cat on my bed, cleaning her paws before she takes a nap, that Ātman is never the object of anything. It's always the subject. It's always the seer, never the seen. The seen exists within Ātman as an illusion, as a temporary covering, upadhi. And when that covering goes away, either at the time of death or at the time of universal dissolution or at the time of seeing through it by intelligence, then only Ātman remains.
Om Tat Sat, Om Shakti.